This week we have a chat with Leigh Whannell about Wolfman.
We pit the Lost Boys against Near Dark.
What's the best movie of 1988?
And the guys from Bonehead Weekly. And more?
And more. Much more. Hey, everybody. This is an introduction, kicking off another show. We are Good Movie Monday, the podcast dedicated to nerdy cinematic ramblings. I'm Glenn Cochran. He's Ben Hellwig.
Well, you can call me the Hot Stepper. Murderer.
The lyrical gangster. Here for another episode to chat about movies for the next hour or so. That is what we do. Of course, it need to be said, we do have social media, so people should check that out. Let's get that out of the way. Bit of housekeeping. Dust the shelves for me, Ben.
Dust the actual shelves? If you head on over to our website, goodmoviemonday.com, you will find all of our social media links. We're on Instagram, we're on X, we're on the other ones, YouTubes, we're on Facebooks, we're on all of them.
TikTok,
we're on TikTok.
Mm-hmm.
I've talked and I've ticked on that platform.
Or as my family calls it, tick-plop. It's the only place I really pay attention to it is when I'm taking a shit.
That's right. I think that's what it's for. That's why the people are so concerned about China getting their data, because they can tell how much fiber you're eating by the length of time in between tick plops.
Yeah, it's optic fiber too.
Yeah, because they're listening.
They love that.
Because they're listening through your phone, so they can tell.
As you heard a few moments ago, we do have a Grouse episode lined up. I'm going to be chatting with Leigh Whannell, the director of Wolfman, and obviously he's the guy that's also made The Invisible Man, and he's behind the Saw movies and Insidious. It's going to be a really cool chat.
Really, he's Lee, the movie guy from Recovery.
That's right.
That's who he'll always be, regardless of all these other things that he's done.
Or the dweeb from the Matrix sequel.
Yeah.
Maybe he was in that. So that's going to be fun. And yes, we're going to be talking about movies from 1988, another tricky month to be or year to be talking about.
Jesus, what a year!
Oh my God! No, this segment has just devolved into us just reading out,
listing all these movies.
But we'll see how we go with that one. And yeah, the Lost Boys and Near Dark. Gonna try and nut it out and see what's the best one.
I've nutted it out to both of those films, so it's going to be an interesting chat.
Let's talk about some movies. Ben, we've been to the movies, obviously. Last week we got a chance to see Drop.
We did.
And I also got to see Warfare, which I'll talk about as well. But what did you think of Drop? Drop opens this week in cinemas. They both do, in fact. It's a very Hitchcockian kind of movie, I guess. That's how I would describe it. But look, I was not a huge fan. I think it was okay. I think it was very long, and not long, but tedious. It felt long.
Yeah.
A lot of nothing happens for quite a while. And even, so the premise of this movie is there's a single mother. She's back on the dating scene and she's having a first date with someone she met online. She's nervous. They book a dinner at the rooftop cafe or restaurant at the top of a high-rise, I should say. And while she's waiting for the date to arrive, she gets a mysterious text that sort of, invites her to
accept a drop.
Accept a drop.
It was all, the whole movie was inspired by the writer going to a restaurant and it happening to his girlfriend. Somebody was sending him weird memes.
And a drop, when they happen on your phone, someone within the vicinity is dropping them to your phone.
Sending you a file.
So this ends up being like a bit of a sinister game because she accepts it and then gets sort of told that she has to follow a few instructions that are leading to a crime that she doesn't want to commit and can't let on that she is doing. It's pretty run-of-the-mill stuff. We've seen all these kind of things before, even in like Speed and Die Hard with a Vengeance. It's that kind of telephone thriller, phone booth, all those sort of things where the in most of them the killer is telling you what to do and blah blah blah, jump through hoops.
Yeah.
What I found with this one though is it was not thrilling enough. Like all of these moments where she has to do something, it just didn't really matter. Like it was just not that thrilling.
I was actually trying to, while we were doing this, I was trying to airdrop you something, but it's just not this. It's like just not. I have to hold it near your phone to do it. It's ridiculous.
I may have my Bluetooth off.
Look, I will say that for me, the comment of the film, the critique of the film, comes from Adam Ross, who used to be on this show. We were talking about it on Instagram, and when we went to see it, because it was a previous screening, Universal cloaked our phones, which means they stuck them in a satchel
Yep.
and they sealed it so that we couldn't film anything or anything like that. And so they cloaked our phones, and Adam said, "I wish they'd cloaked my eyes."
Yes, I kind of agree. Look, it was just a fizzer. It was a bit of a nothing movie. The climax was not that particularly great. What I did find very interesting, though, was if you're a TikToker and you've been on it long enough, you will recognise that her son from this film is that little Scottish TikTok extraordinaire superstar who is just a smart little kid with glasses that talks with a funny Scottish accent. And it's his first film. And I looked up his account today, and at the time that he was auditioning for this, they were documenting that process on their TikTok.
Right.
And asking him, well, how do you think the audition went? It's adorable. I've got to say that. And anyway, that's drop.
I was surprised. Like the cast though which is not it's not a bad thing like it used to be, but it's straight out of
Television?
like Ben's favorite TV shows. Because the lead actress whose name now it just escapes me, but she's from White Lotus.
Yep.
The Kyle Skenner, the date, is from 1923. The sister Violet Bean is from that murder mystery Death and Other Details on Disney Plus that I really like.
Yep.
The Reed Diamond, who's one of the other patrons in the restaurant, is from Homicide: Life on the Street. It is like a total Ben's TV show dream cast.
Well, that guy from 1923 was also in that It Ends With Us movie, the infamous one with Blake Lively and Justin Baldoni, or whatever his name is. Yeah. So that was drop. The other one I saw this week was Warfare. Which is the new Alex Garland movie, which he backs up straight after Civil War came out, right? So this one kind of could be considered a bit of a companion, I guess, because they do maintain the energy and the style of Civil War, only this one takes place in the Iraq War.
You could almost say it's Civil War 2 Electric Boogaloo.
You could indeed. And it does start with a very Electric Boogaloo moment, which is quite hilarious that you say that.
A dance battle?
Yeah, let's just say...
Like, imagine if that was the premise of your movie. Like, it's a war movie, but instead of the actual violence, they're gonna break out into dance.
Well, look, it opens, like, I'll tell you the opening, because I was watching this, and when it opened, I thought, man, I know Ben didn't want to come and see this, but he'd be killing himself right now. Starts off with the entire team of Navy SEALs in their, like, barracks or whatever. They're in their sort of huddle, and they're all watching these sexy women do aerobics, right? But they're all really getting into it, and the aerobics video has an electronic dance sort of song behind it, and they're all really getting into it, and it gets louder and louder, and they're just going like this as the women are gyrating, and like Ben would be loving this.
Yeah, I regret my decision not to go and see it now.
But you know what? It's probably the most intense war film I've seen in a while. It is. It's all shot in real time, and it's all a single location piece. And the premise is this team of Navy SEALs stuck inside a residence, surrounded by insurgents, and it's getting really hairy. And the insurgents are closing in and outnumbering them, and they've got to get out. So it's them calling in the assistance, but the assistants can't get to them because they're held up and airstrikes and whatnot. And it is just like, you know, those movies where, particularly war films, where they leave you like in suspense by just so many long periods of silence, and you know, like a bomb's gonna go off or there's gonna be a gunfight or something, but they go over the mark where you expect it to happen, so you're just sitting there. I did my neck in when one of these fucking bombers went off. Like, I jolted so much, I'm like, oh my god.
Usually it's me shaking the whole row.
Oh, yeah. Mind you, I'll tell you how old I'm getting, because only earlier, before we recorded, I was in the bathroom, and as I came out, as she does, my wife liked to scare me, right? So she's hiding in the wardrobe, and she jumps out and goes, "Rah!" And I just went like that, and I went, I hurt my arm. Like, just by going, "Ah!" And like, you know, you're getting old when you hurt your arm.
Things just hurt
from doing nothing. So yeah, Warfare, I think it's fantastic, and I must say, Alex Garland co-directed this with a guy that was one of the actual characters, and so this, as it says on the screen at the start, was compiled from their memories and their recollection of this incident. And it's just really intense. And I loved it, really did. And I got to say, also opening this week, but we won't talk about it, is The Correspondent, which is the new Kriv Stenders movie with Richard Roxburgh. We've got Kriv on next week's show, so we'll save it for then and talk about it then.
It's Terrific TV Tuesday, the only Tuesday TV segment that drops on a Monday.
All right, Ben, let's do some television talk.
Terrific TV Tuesday. This week,
Just change the song.
This week, I went back. I travelled all the way back to 2013, and I watched this TV show, or only the first couple episodes of this TV show called Almost Human. Do you remember this?
No.
It stars Carl Urban,
Oh my God.
Michael Ealy, Minka Kelly, Mackenzie Crook pops up. Remember when Mackenzie Crook was popping up in things?
Yep.
And Lily Taylor.
Oh, right.
And it's basically iRobot, kind of. It's a futuristic TV show. Carl Urban's a cop, and he leads his team. It's set in the. Did I say it's set in the future? It's set in the future.
Does he do anything that's not sci-fi?
No, I think he's the go-to guy ever since Doom.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
It's just otherwise he's just he's just a poor boy from New Zealand. But he leads his team into like this battle against a bunch of drug dealers, and they all get slaughtered because there's a rat amongst them somewhere.
Yep.
And he kind of wakes up after he's kind of been in a coma for a while, and then he's been on rest duty. He had half his leg blown off, and it's been replaced by an android, an robot leg. But when he goes back to work, he finally goes back to work. He's assigned this android or synthetic partner, which has now become they've had them, and they have them in the thingo, but they're just like tools.
The show is ahead of its time.
Yeah, but
Last year was the year for all that subservience and.
I was actually,
Megan?
one of the movies that came out that we're going to talk about, that we're not going to really talk about, but it'll be mentioned.
Yeah.
Is Alienation, which came out in I think '88.
Yeah.
This is 100% exactly the same as Alienation, the TV series.
Yep.
It's just instead of an alien, he's an android.
Okay, gotcha.
And it's great.
Cool, that does sound good.
It is really like Carl Urban. I have to say, he kind of took me by surprise because I'd seen him in a bunch of stuff, but it just never really registered until Dread.
Yeah, he was good in Dread.
And
I like him.
And I watch him in this, and he's just so charismatic. And like, even when he's fucking people over, as he does in The Boys,
Yeah.
he's great in The Boys. You're just like, it's okay.
Do you know the movie I first discovered him in was, I think, like the year 2000. He did a New Zealand film called The Irrefutable Truth About Demons.
That really rings a bell.
When it got released on home video, they changed it to The Truth About Demons.
Yeah.
But I saw it at the Melbourne Film Festival, and I thought, this fucking title is like crazy.
Yeah.
Good movie, though. And yeah, that's where he was on my radar. So then that moment on, everything he was in, I'm like, oh, it's that demon guy.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, for me now, he's Judge Dredd.
Yeah.
Much more so than Stallone ever was.
Hell yeah. That's a banger of a movie, that. Love that one.
I actually keep forgetting that he was in Doom, but it's only because I keep forgetting that they made a Doom movie.
They did too.
They did too, yeah.
All right, well, I was going to go right back to the 80s and check out that TV show I talked about. Maybe did I talk about on the show or to you? There's a show called Beverly Hills Bunts,
Yeah.
which was a spin-off from Hill Street Blues.
It would have been better if it was called Beverly Hills Blunts and they were getting high.
I'll just put it on the screen so you can see how amazing this show looks as far as the promo and the marketing goes. Whew, it's a hard watch. It's a really hard watch.
I didn't mean to watch it after you told me.
They did legitimately take Hill Street Blues and put it into a comedy world, and it's...
Oh, really? Does he even say, stay safe out there and all that kind of stuff during the...
The only thing missing is a laugh track, and it feels like they're marching to the beat of a laugh track. It's just,
right.
yeah. Anyway.
Maybe you should add your own, like MASH.
Yeah. So I gave that the flick. I'm like, okay, I've done an episode. That's enough.
That's enough.
So instead, I went to Amazon Prime, and there's a documentary from 2023 called Willie Nelson and Family. It's a 4-part documentary series. Wow, this is fantastic.
Is it Willie Nelson now?
Yeah, it starts. Well, yes, Willie Nelson now, but it goes right back to his childhood and then does his whole career, his life and career, all the wives, all the blah blah blah, and
his affair with Amy Irving. Does he comment on that?
I'm 3 episodes in. I've not got to the last one, but it is firstly, what a life, but also it gives you such a deeper appreciation for the music. Like if you've ever just passed off, Willie Nelson as the on the road again, that kind of thing. It's he's so much more than that. Well,
he's a weird one because for us, he's just like he's one of the highwaymen, or he's he's had like one or two kind of hit songs.
Yeah,
but he was.
He's had over 100 albums.
Yeah, seriously huge in the US. Like he's like the country version of Michael Jackson, kind of.
Yeah, he is. I mean, this documentary really goes deep dive into all of it, but he revolutionized country music completely.
Yeah.
He was the one that broached country and the hippie culture.
I thought he's the one who put country and western together.
He was the first country artist to put sort of black producers into the music to give it soul. It goes into like the hippie revolution and how he was the first country singer to endorse pot. And it's big on. He got arrested so many times for having pot.
Yeah.
It goes into the time he had a shootout with the violent boyfriend of his sister and almost ended up killing someone. It's just a fantastic documentary series, and also just the music is. If you don't like Willie Nelson as an artist, you'll come out of it going, I kind of think I do. Yeah. There was a song they played at the end of an episode, and I'm like, man, that's one of the most beautiful songs I've ever heard. And the lyrics are really amazing when you actually pay attention to them. So yeah, Willie Nelson and Family. It's produced by Taylor Sheridan. Just can't speak highly of it enough.
You should listen to. There's a great podcast called Cocaine and Rhinestones, all about the country music western scene. It's by the son of now I've forgotten his name. And I can't say the song that I know him for because it's incredibly offensive. But his father's was
Waylon Jennings.
No. It's
before that.
He would have been a big name in country music in the 70s and 80s.
Okay,
this
cool,
guy.
Cool, yeah.
But he does go through. He goes through a lot of like Bobby.
I've
Bobby
seen
Gentry,
that one a while ago.
all that sort of stuff. But he it's a real disappointment because he's taking such a long time with the third season. I think it's the third.
Yeah.
But the first two are just so fascinating, and it is a branch of music that I've never had that much. Not that I wasn't interested in it.
When exposed to it.
It never really came out here. It wasn't. We only have the breakthrough hits that made it into the US top 40.
Australia has its own country scene, which is completely different.
I know John Williamson.
New album out now.
Yeah. He's our country. Troy Cassadaly and those guys. All of those guys I know, but I don't really know.
There's only one country star in Australia, and that's Chad Morgan. Thank you very much.
Never heard of him.
The Sheik of Scrubby Creek. You've never heard of him?
Never heard of Chad Morgan.
Tex Perkins did an amazing documentary about him. I highly recommend that too.
Yeah, right.
Anyway, there we go.
Hi, Betty White here. Oh my, I'm such a big fan of Glenn and Ben and their Good Movie Monday show. They have so much fun. And they speak my language. I love words like fuck, cunt, and cocksucker. They're such cool dudes, and I can't get enough of them.
All right, so time to play my interview with Leigh Whannell. This is a good one. This is an interesting one. It almost didn't happen. So it was an interview that was really hard to tee up, and they pulled the plug on it pretty close to the last minute. And I'm like, oh, that's a shame. It would have been nice to talk to him. And then because the publicists at Universal are pretty good with me, they made it happen. And so this actually took place while he was in a car on his way to the airport. They said, look, we've got some time, but it's going to be in transit. Do you mind? And so, so he's in a car. There's no video component to this, so it won't be on our socials. But enjoy this because it's a fun chat all about Wolfman. He goes in. I'll let him do the talking, but he goes into how he didn't want to. He was worried, with the expectation on him from Invisible Man, and how's he going to do this? It can't be the same. Blah blah blah. And he took it in a whole new direction to what the Wolfman has been previously. So it's a whole chat about that. It's a very cool one. You gonna say something?
I was going to say, I spoke to him when he came out for Invisible Man, but that was at Dockland Studios.
Yeah.
And everyone got it was like a proper junket. It's like they've cut down. The more famous he's gotten, the less time he's got for us at the press.
I mean, I could be mistaken. I think this one was going to be a big junket, but it ended up being more of a Q&A circuit doing in front of an audience type of thing.
Which we did see him at the premiere.
Yeah.
And he did a Q&A, and he had even the people who did the closing song were there.
But I just love they made time for us so that we could have a chat with him, and I really appreciate that. They really are stuck their neck out for us. So here we go.
What was that thing, Blake? It sounded like an animal, but I swear to God, it was standing on 2 feet.
What's wrong with Daddy?
He got infected.
Blake, stop!
G'day, Lee. How are you?
Good. How are you?
Yeah, doing good. Thanks for making time and squeezing me in. I do appreciate it.
Of course.
So I'm sure there's a lot of pressure and anxiety, waiting to see what the audience response is to this movie. But I can just reassure you, it is completely suspenseful, jump out of your skin scary. So congratulations.
Thank you very much. That is good to hear. It's interesting. Sometimes there's a divide between audiences and critics. I'm sure you've been on Rotten Tomatoes before and seen a movie with like a 30% rating from the critics and a 90% rating from the audience. So you never know what the divide is going to be, but you are right. When you've got a movie coming out, it's your baby. You've worked on it for a year or more, 2 years. It is a nerve-wracking experience to release your baby out into the world and be like, okay, world, judge it.
100%, 100%. I'm a movie fan before anything else, and in fact, you and I went to the same film school. I was a couple of years behind you at RMIT.
Oh, really? Excellent. At RMIT there in the city? Awesome.
Yeah. I came up with Scott Ryan, who went on to do the Mr. In-Between.
Oh, wow. Okay, awesome.
Yeah, so, look, talking about Wolfman, I know that there were a lot of sort of names attached to the project along the way, but I'm wondering how soon after Invisible Man it was before you gave it some considerable thought.
Yeah, I mean, Blumhouse and Universal approached me with this character, and at that time Ryan Gosling was attached, and I did have an initial feeling that maybe it wasn't the right thing to do something that was a monster, but I love the Wolfman character. I just felt like maybe this isn't the time for me to do this. But once I found a way in, like what would be my take on it, what would be my version on it, I had to make it. Like I went from being cautious about doing it to needing to make it, being desperate to make it.
That's awesome. And it shows too, because like I guess when it comes to the genre, little hasn't been done in this genre. Like, we've seen it all before. However, you've made it feel really fresh and intimate. Can you talk about what inspired the direction of this story, because it is not like any of the Wolfmans before it?
Yeah, for me it was all about this shifting perspectives and seeing a werewolf transformation from the point of view of the person who's changing. That was something I felt I hadn't seen before. And once I had that idea, I got really excited about how to execute it. Mm-hmm. Stefan Duccio, the cinematographer that I work with, he and I started having a lot of conversations about how to do this, different cameras. We looked at infrared cameras, UV lenses. We just had endless conversations about how to play visually, and also sound design. I was meeting with the sound designers that I work with before we'd shot a frame of the movie. Usually that doesn't happen, but I was really prioritizing the sound design for this film.
It goes a long way towards the suspense, that's for sure.
Oh, great. Awesome.
And what about the design of the creature itself? Like, what influenced the look of Monster Blake? Because it is a really unique kind of take on it.
Yeah, I guess I was thinking more about disease. I wanted to get away from the myth of Wolfman and the more sort of anthropomorphic, the idea of a human that has changed into a wolf. And I was thinking, how can we give the Wolfman fans what they want, but grounded in more of a disease? Mm-hmm. And so I was Googling a lot of things that weren't fun to look at. My search history wasn't fun at that time. I was looking at a lot of things like leprosy and facial diseases, skin diseases that affected, and just thinking about how we could use the makeup to achieve something that felt real, in a way than maybe some versions of werewolves over the years. It's very much grounded in the folklore of it all and their sprouting fur and fangs. I was sort of taking a little bit of a left turn from that, but also wanting to give people something they loved. I didn't want to invent, I didn't want to do something unique, but turn the monster fans off. I needed to sort of serve both aspects of the movie.
Yeah, I think you removed a lot of predictability by doing that, which I'm grateful for.
Oh, good.
I wonder if I'm overthinking things, but I do feel like I saw a few homages in there. Were they intentional or just incidental? I think I saw like an American Werewolf moment where there's sort of a camera angle looking down as he's approaching the glass house, I think it was. I think there's definitely a nod to Saw with the foot trap scene. Were these intentional?
Right. Yeah, I think so. Even if it's happening at a subconscious level, it's still intentional because it's all in there. Like, you must be talking about that shot in American Wolf in London where we're looking down the escalator and you see the wolf sort of slowly approach, which I love that. And I think that is so embedded in my subconscious that you're probably right. Some of these overhead shots in the movie are calling back to that. There's one shot in the movie where we're looking down at the wolf as he walks along towards the hunting blind, and that to me is very reminiscent. So I think as a film fan, you end up being the sum of your parts. Like all the movies I've watched and all the movies I've loved, they all go into my head, and somehow, even without knowing it, they'll emerge. So it's true. And then some are more conscious, like you're talking about the homage to Saw, things like that. That's maybe a more conscious thing.
Well, these are fun things for the audience too. We'd love to spot them. So I'm glad they're there.
I know. There's one that people haven't spotted yet. There is, in every movie, I like to put the jigsaw puppet. I just like to, it was in Invisible Man, usually it was in Upgrade. I had one there. It's like a little tradition. There is one there, but I haven't heard anyone spot it yet. I made this one pretty tough to spot.
It's only a matter of time. I have to go back and watch it now.
Exactly. Now you just, you'll need to, when it comes out on home video and streaming, you'll have to really start using the freeze frame.
I'll be going back to the cinemas and watching it again.
Oh, good.
If people aren't freaked out already by what you're putting on screen, you go and throw a fucking huntsman spider into the mix. Like, how do you go around spiders?
Not good at all. Not good at all. I think, no one's ever diagnosed me, but I think I would qualify as an arachnophobic. As you know, growing up in Australia, these huntsman spiders, I think that they're such a source of fear for people because they're the one you commonly run across.
Yep.
I wouldn't be having a good time if I stumbled across a funnel web. It's just that I haven't. These super scary spiders that we have here. But, I grew up like we all did in Australia. The amount of times that I've walked into my kitchen growing up and been like, oh, shit, there's a giant huntsman on the wall. Yep. And then someone has to roll up a newspaper and figure out how to kill it. Although that's not very PC. I bet these days the done thing is probably to get it outside. I'm just not going to be the person to volunteer to capture the huntsman and put it outside safely. That's not going to be me.
I love that it was in the movie to begin with because that's how Aussies and Kiwis know that you shot the movie in our neck of the woods. Exactly.
What's funny is New Zealand doesn't have any of these creepy crawlies, so they had to import a huntsman.
Jesus.
They're missing out on all those things. We have to import our deadly and scary nature.
Yes. Before I let you run, I just want to have a quick chat about just Blumhouse. You've got a great relationship with them, and I'm guessing by now that you've afforded yourself a lot of autonomy with your productions with them. But I'm wondering if shooting in New Zealand keeps the suits at bay. Are they out of your hair when you're shooting so far away?
A little. Blumhouse is pretty good in being hands-off anyway. Like, one of their hallmarks is that they're not micromanaging you.
Yeah.
Blumhouse is not a company that deals with massive budgets. So the trade-off that you make for all those toys and all that money is that you get a good degree of creative freedom. The amount of people you're dealing with is smaller. You're not getting notes from a big committee. You're getting them from one person. So I would say that they're usually pretty hands-off. But in the case of Wolfman, you are right about geography because, being in a different time zone and being on an island, it does allow you the illusion of freedom. Like, well, they can't get to me. I definitely felt that in New Zealand. Like, the studio wasn't visiting the set and looking over my shoulder. Like, I just felt like I was there. I was with the local crew, and I was on an island, metaphorical and literal island.
That's awesome. And last question, and I'll let you run. With Invisible Man and Wolfman under your belt, do you have plans to reimagine any more Universal monsters?
No plans. This stuff is always accidental. Like even Wolfman just sort of seemed to be an accident, so I don't have some sort of grand plan to do 3 monster movies, cap off the trilogy. We'll see what happens. Mainly where I start when I'm writing is it's just that blank page. You're sitting there and the blank page is staring at you with that blinking cursor, or in the case of me, usually it's a notepad and pen where I start. It's exhilarating and terrifying because you're like, okay, I've got nothing. I'm starting from scratch. So that's where I am now. It's just me and the blank page.
Well, whatever comes next is going to be great. I have no doubt. I've loved your work for years. So thanks for making time.
Yeah, mate. Thank you very much.
1988. Australia celebrates its bicentenary by celebrating the work of artist Ken Doan at the World Expo in Brisbane. The exhibition is notable for the sound of dads from all over the country saying, "You call that art? My toddler paints better than that."
Alrighty, Ben. You ready to dive into 1988?
No.
I
It's
think
too big a year.
I think I've worked out why our lists have been consistently wrong every single week.
All right.
So, last week we even both had Wikipedia up,
Yeah.
and our lists were different. One of us, I can't remember who, was looking at the American top 10, and the other one was looking at the global top 10.
Ah.
That's where we went
That's
wrong.
where we're wrong.
Yes. So, anyway, let's go through a top 10.
Yeah.
I've got from number 10 backwards. This is 1988, so I've got Die Hard.
That's number 10.
Number 10. Number 9 is Big. Number 8 is Cocktail. Number 7 is A Fish Called Wanda. Number 6 is Rambo 3. Number 5, Twins. Number 4, Crocodile Dundee 2. Number 3, Coming to America. Number 2, Who Framed Roger Rabbit. Number 1 was Rain Man.
Yeah.
This is odd because, in my mind...
Tom Cruise had 2 films in the top 10 that year.
Yes. But in my mind, Die Hard, I feel like it was earlier than 1988.
Yeah.
Like, because, in my mind, I'm like, well, I remember seeing Crocodile Dundee at the cinemas. I remember Rain Man and Who Framed Roger Rabbit at the movies. Die Hard, I thought was already out. Like, in my mind, like, it doesn't compute.
Yeah. It's because I think it may be because Tom Cruise made a deal with the devil and looks like Bruce Willis has got dementia now. Yeah, everyone else, Tom Hanks has lost all that weight, so he doesn't look like a normal person anymore. They're all and Tom Cruise looks the same.
Yeah, I know. So
that's why you're like, well, surely.
Although Ralph Macchio is a bit that way too.
Yeah.
But
he's always been that way. He's Ralph Macchio even more because they were both in Outsiders
That's
together.
why I bring it up.
Yeah.
He's in his 60s now.
Yeah.
Far out. All right, let's run through some titles from 88. Once again, there are so many here that I feel like were earlier, 85 or 86 even. But 88, here we go. I'm going to start with an Albert Pune classic, Alien from LA.
I was wondering if you were going to mention that.
Yep. Bloodsport, Police Academy 5.
Bloodsport.
Beetlejuice is Ben's favourite, Two Moon Junction.
Two Moon Junction.
You want to do something?
One of your favourites, Shoot to Kill.
Hell yeah. AKA Deadly Pursuit.
Heathers, Scrooged.
Oh my God.
Willow.
Yep. Killer Clowns from Outer Space, The Great Outdoors, License to Drive, Phantasm 2, and The Blob.
And The Blob, yeah. Twins, Working Girl, Gorillas in the Mist. So Sigourney Weaver also had 2 movies out that year. So a lot of people did. And Gorillas in the Mist means that Brian Brown had 2 movies out that year.
Uh-huh. He was hot property at that time, wasn't he? Did you say Elvira, Mistress of the Dark?
No, I didn't, but it's on my list.
Child's Play, Naked Gun, Beaches, Smoke 'em if you got 'em.
Got 'em, yeah. Biloxi Blues, Brain Damage, Critters 2, Sunset, another Bruce Willis movie, Dead Heat,
Oh my God.
Midnight Run. We haven't. Bull Durham, Naked Gun.
Yeah, I said that
You
one.
said
But
Naked
you
Gun?
get Pumpkinhead, Halloween 4, Mystic Pizza, Moonwalker, Ernest Saves Christmas.
Big Top Pee-wee,
Yes.
The Presidio, Red Heat, Maniac Cop, Mac and Me, Vibes.
Nightmare on Elm Street 4, Hot to Trot, Dead Ringers, Running on Empty, Wings of Desire, Bad Dreams, Colors Above the Law.
Young Guns,
Far
Big
out.
Blue, one of your favorite movies.
Oh, God.
Alien Nation, is it Night of the Demons? Without a Clue. Do you remember Without a Clue?
I certainly do.
Child's Play,
Yep.
Cherry 2000.
Land Before Time, Serpent and the Rainbow, Action Jackson, Hairspray, Frantic, Movie in Prison. There's so like vice
Dirty Rotten
versa.
Scoundrels,
Fucking hell.
Dangerous Liaisons.
So that's what we've come to, just reading out movies
Yeah.
and being shocked by how many of them there are.
Look at, these are the Australian ones.
Yeah, I've got them too. Go.
I got it. Celia, Emerald City, Ghosts of the Civil Dead,
Yep.
Grievous Bodily Harm, Incident at Ravensgate, Kadicha, Pandemonium, starring your favorite actor of all time, The Navigator, Riddle of the Stinson, another one of your favorites.
Yep.
Young Einstein.
Absolutely. Don't forget Ricky and Pete. What else
Nadia
we got?
Tass.
Grievous Bodily Harm, Evil Angels.
Evil Angels, yeah, that's a weird one because it's in both. When I looked it up on Wikipedia, it's in both, films from America and films from Australia. And you're like, because
Co-production.
there's not really an Australian in that film.
No, it's not. All the backup actors are.
Yeah.
Boulevard of Broken Dreams. Cane Toads. That was a big deal at the time. Remember
Yeah.
Cane Toads? So this is massive. Let's try
Adventures of Baron von Munchausen, Buster, American Gothic, Lair of the White Worm, Stormy Monday. Do you remember Tommy Tricker and that stamp?
Yeah, because that's directed by the guy that did the Peanut Butter Solution.
Yeah.
His name is eluding me, but he is possibly going to be on the show at some point in the future.
Oh,
Because he's an Aussie director that went and made it big in Canada.
in Canada. Yeah, right.
Let's try to whittle it down to our favourites of the year. Once again, incredibly hard. I've had to go with 3 favourites. I can't narrow it down, and they're all just emotionally based.
Yeah.
So the one that we never discussed in that list, but is clearly one of the most important films to me, is Caddyshack 2. Right? Because I do talk about it all the time. It's, I think, a very underrated movie. It's a bad movie. Don't get me wrong. I do admit that I can recognize a bad movie when I see one, people. But I think it's very harshly done by, and I enjoy the shit out of it. So
I think you get a bit of an agreement from Joe in with the Boneheads on that one.
and so I've also gone with, as you mentioned, Riddle of the Stinson, because that movie just meant a lot to me as a kid, and I still watch it maybe once a year. Love it. And Young Einstein, because I think Young Einstein is top 3 greatest Aussie comedies of all time, maybe top 5.
Crocodile Dundee 2. Did we even say
Yeah,
that?
yeah, we did right off the bat. Yeah, for sure.
because it's in the top 10.
Yeah. So yeah, they're my 3: Riddle of Stinson, Young Einstein, Caddyshack 2, just for nostalgic reasons.
Yeah. I mean, look, me too.
Yep.
I mean, look, yeah. It's hard to go past any of those top 10.
Yeah.
They're all great.
Hellraiser 2, I forgot about that one.
Hellraiser 2, yeah. Hellbound. They're all great. So look, they could all be my number ones. Every one of them ones in the top 10. But Cocktail for me.
Yeah, I thought you were going to go
Cocktail
there.
was the one, and my 2 honourable mentions are Police Academy 5, Assignment Miami Beach, because
Joe will agree with you on that.
it's so fucking good.
Dorks.
And it introduced me to Karen Jones, a.k.a. Karen, or Janet Jones. Janet Gretzky now,
Love to do a...
who I absolutely adore.
We need to do a Police Academy marathon.
Yeah. And Cherry 2000, which I watched as a kid
Yeah.
over and over again. And when I actually got the chance to meet Steve DeJarnay, the director, and he was just like, oh, yeah, no one really talks to me about Cherry 2000. It's always about Miracle Mile. I was like, I'd never heard of Miracle Mile. I was like, does Miracle Mile have a guy who goes into the Forbidden Zone to chase down a replacement sex bot? He's like, no. And I'm like, so then who cares about Miracle Mile? But that being said, Miracle Mile, I did go and watch
amazing.
it, is fucking great.
Yeah, 100%. Wow, interesting. Yeah, look, I could talk about 88 for hours, but let's see what the Boneheads have to say about it. I think they might struggle as much as we do.
Chad, go ahead. Tell us your favorite movie of 1988.
Okay.
Because we
As
all
long
know
as
what it is.
But I would like an honorable mention here as well.
We'll give you one later if James doesn't
Okay.
talk for 42 minutes.
So I got to talk about it's honestly, when somebody asks me, because they know I'm a movie geek, Chad, what's your favorite movie of all time? I struggle between 3 movies. It's the movie from 1988, Who Framed Roger Rabbit.
Never heard of it. Is it good?
It is glorious to me. I just
I watched it again a few weeks ago.
It still holds up. I just everything about it is amazing. All the people who Bob Hoskins' role could have gone to: Eddie Murphy, Bill Murray. I could not imagine anybody else in that role other than Bob Hoskins.
I think I can a little bit, but I totally get where that was an extremely, as Mel Brooks and other people call them, the happy accidents of
Yeah.
how so many people. I mean, that's the one Bill Murray said got away. And
Yeah.
also he almost did a movie with Clint Eastwood, but it's like,
And Eddie Murphy, if you listen to Eddie Murphy regrets it too. He says, I can't believe I'd passed up Who Framed Roger Rabbit, because he thought me talking to cartoons, that's a dumb idea. And he still regrets it. Yeah. Everybody who passed up Who Framed Roger Rabbit, I think, regrets that move. And Bob Hoskins took that, just nailed it. And Christopher Lloyd is one of the best villains of all time as Judge Doom. And if you ever watch some of the behind the scenes stuff, the stuff they did for that in the early 80s, I mean, it looks amazing now compared to what they could do with it now with CGI. And honestly, if they did it with CGI, it wouldn't look anywhere near as good.
It wouldn't work.
I mean, look at Space Jam, for God's sakes.
It
looks shitty.
I'll go next because mine is a movie I hadn't seen in a long time, and I saw it that summer when it came out, and my kid and I watched it this weekend because he actually picked it out. I don't think it's my favorite movie of the year, but it's one I've never got to talk about on here. It's Tom Hanks in Big. Holds up. And there were so many. There was Dream a Little Dream. There was like Father Like Son. There were, and people forget Big was nominated for Oscars. And there's Dream a Little Dream, Father Like Son, vice versa. And there's another one of just these body swap movies. In Big,
Deja Vu. Okay, I'm sorry. I'm making that up in my head.
But if you all haven't seen Big in a long time, Tom Hanks is so freaking good in that as basically a 12-year-old boy. I just forgot how good he is. Now, the movie itself, I was watching it, picking it apart, going, that ADR voiceover later doesn't, I was like, oh, that's where they put that. That's where they put that. But the movie and the performances carry the whole film, and it went quick. What is it?
Don't pick apart movies. Just watch the fucking thing.
Oh, shut the fuck up. You do the same thing. So we're sitting there, I was watching it, and I was just noticing things, but it's the performances in that movie are so good, and the script is pretty tight.
Yeah. Robert Loggia is amazing in it. Tom Hanks
They're all
is great.
good, and none of it is really, it's not overly sentimental anyway. And I guess a little bit of she has sex with him. So, but even now today, when they go to separate, when she leans in, she kisses him on the forehead. When she realizes. I enjoyed that movie and hadn't seen it in a long time and was impressed how much I enjoyed it.
Just think, the next time I shoot someone, I could be arrested.
I know. It's so
Naked Gun. It's Naked Gun. The answer is
I am shocked you went this route.
I'm shocked that I didn't
There is 1,000 other ones, Chad, but I honestly, it's and I have a hard time saying I'm picking my favorite, because it changes. I'm picking the ones that I quote all the time, and for this year, there's not much I don't quote more than
the Naked Gun. There's nothing like it. I know we had Airplane, but it was so funny and so good. And it's a movie, it's definitely one I've watched the most out of all those since then.
Yeah, no, so I mean, Naked Gun is the one that immediately came to mind because I quote it so much. I do have, are we doing honorable mentions real quick? Because I can say it. Pumpkinhead, two very different films. But man, I cannot not talk about Pumpkinhead either.
You want to hear mine?
Oh, me? I got to talk The Adventures of Baron Munchausen.
That's a good one.
That's a good one. It's a good one.
Mine's Caddyshack too. It's not a good movie, but I have a soft spot in my heart, and it's one where the song. I actually like the song. I listen to the song. It's on my iPod that Chad said I'm old, or apparently he found out you're old if you still have an iPod and use it. And I still listen from time to time. The other day, when it got warm, I had the sunroof up, and I was going down Manowar with "Nobody's Food on Go."
It's on my iPod as well.
Caddyshack too.
Yeah,
it's not a good movie, but I enjoy it. Ben's going to be
Beetlejuice.
Beetlejuice.
Fight.
What podcast in the world would 2 people out of 5? It's Caddyshack 2.
Yeah. Only this one.
Oh my God. All right, let's do a movie battle, Ben.
Movie battle. This is going to be an interesting one.
Yes. Near Dark versus Lost Boys needs no explanation. Both films came out, I think, the same year.
Both vampire films.
Both they have brothers in each one. Jason Patrick is the brother of Joshua Miller.
Yeah, I can never remember that guy's name.
I forgot it then for a second too. He's been on the show twice. And interestingly, when he was on the show for the first time talking about Near Dark, bit of a retrospective sort of anniversary conversation, he was saying that in their household there was a rivalry between the two because of the Lost Boys and Near Dark whole competition. And they're both teen vampire movies, right?
Yeah.
So one was Lost Boys, directed by Joel Schumacher. Near Dark was Catherine Bigelow. Let's see where we're at. So I know someone who does have an opinion of this. Loyal listener, number one listener, Brody Kane.
Oh, has he?
He got in touch and he wanted to predict our answers. I'm not going to tell you what those predictions are. Let's see if he's right.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you his answer. His is Near Dark by a Whisker.
Yeah, right.
Actually, sorry. His is Near Dark by a Whisker.
Near Dark by a fucking whisker, mate. Hey, boys, it's Near Dark by a whisker, mate.
We are going to get Brody on the show one of these days, live at the desk.
Do the voice
Mark
live.
my word.
My theory on these is that when you're a kid, it's Lost Boys. And then as you grow up and get a finer appreciation of film, it becomes Near Dark. And then when you get old enough for nostalgia, it goes back to Lost Boys. That's my theory, because that's how I feel.
That is a pretty good way of putting it. And you're right, because Near Dark is much more the arty version, right? It's the art house version.
I like to think of it as the difference is after you watch Lost Boys, all you want to do is go to the comic shop and fight vampires. After you watch Near Dark, all you want to do is stay as far away from vampires as you possibly can.
I think there's far more interesting concepts in Near Dark.
Yeah.
Particularly like the blacking out of the van and that kind of stuff. I like the way they die. That's really interesting. And the cast, you've got Bill Paxton in there as well. And
Lance Henriksen. Yeah.
It's a great cast.
Adrian Pazda. Who's the dad? The dad is someone.
Oh, I don't recall off the top of my head.
It's like, is it Fred? It's not Fred Ward. Tim Thomason? Tim Thomason is the dad.
Yeah. I think so.
Yeah.
I think so. But then, like you're saying, on the flip side, Lost Boys is very comic booky in itself. The whole nature of it is fun.
There's Near Dark, there's a lot of the practicality of being a vampire. Lost Boys, there's none of that.
No. And Lost Boys plays into, like, I guess, a tone of the 80s as well. Like, you had lots of adventure films, and this one has elements of adventure. Motorbikes on the beach is very Karate Kid. Like, you've got a lot of stuff going on that's happening.
They're all wearing kind of, I always think that, I don't know which came first, but in my head, because the order I saw it in.
Yep.
But the Lost Boys are all wearing the same clothes as Bug from Uncle Buck. Like it's that fashion, that very, 80s post. It's not postmodern. What is it?
Post-punk?
Yeah, new wave.
New wave, yeah.
The kind of new wave. They're new wave vampires, basically.
They're John Hughes vampires.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, 100%.
And look, Near Dark doesn't have a sweaty saxophone singer.
Sexy, sweaty saxophone singer.
That's right.
Player,
who does cameos now?
Yeah.
Man.
I hope he only answers with the saxophone, though.
I've seen one of them, and it's like tragic. But anyway, he does that.
It's what I wanted.
Yeah, that's right. I think Lost Boys has a great soundtrack too. Cry Little Sisters obviously become Corey Feldman's like.
Yeah, when he's not doing Michael Jackson, it's become his
stock and trade. Really, when you think about it, he's terrible at it. Marilyn Manson covered it once. That was pretty good. But Near Dark doesn't have that staying power. I think it's the one that you see it on 4K and you go, yes, I want that in my collection.
And I also think that Lost Boys played on TV all the time when I was a kid.
And Lost Boys
Near
has
Dark
sequels.
Late sequels too.
They're not even legacy sequels. They're just like lame sequels.
Yeah. Whereas Near Dark, I don't know if Near Dark ever played on TV outside of its initial run. I don't feel like it had the pop culture life that Lost Boys did for a mainstream audience.
I agree. And I think, though, if it did have any kind of television life in it, it would have been like midnight movie type of thing.
Yeah.
It wouldn't have been like at an hour that younger audiences can watch
and,
it.
yeah, look, Kiefer Sutherland became huge for a period there. No one from Near Dark became huge.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah. Yeah.
You know, to that,
I
you know,
agree.
for a young teen audience.
And you know what? To this day, talk about legacy. I can't have rice from like an Asian shop in a little bucket without thinking of maggots.
It's
like
maggots,
I just can't.
yeah.
Like I pull that joke every time.
Yeah.
And if it's noodles, they're worms.
Yeah. Yeah, totally.
All right, so you're going with Lost Boys.
Yeah.
I'm going with Lost Boys too. Brody said that it would be Glenn Near Dark, Ben Lost Boys. Yeah, and I understand why he's come to that conclusion, but I'm kind of on the same path as you with that.
Yeah, I think it's just like it depends what era of Ben you caught me at. Like if you had asked me that question 15 years ago, Near Dark probably would have won.
Mm-hmm.
But you know,
yeah, the pretentious era.
Era, yeah. Now I don't want to work hard for my movies, and I think it's important to note.
And the grandpa. Let's talk about the grandpa.
Oh, the Bernard.
No, he's the boyfriend guy. He's the leader of the Lost Boys. Is that who you think? Oh, it's Herman.
No, the dad. No, the husband from Overboard.
Yeah.
No, I was thinking the actual granddad is Bernard somebody or another, and what's his name? Herman. He's the he's the grandfather of Gilmore Girls,
and he's in Richie Rich.
He's in Richie Rich, yeah. He's great as well. He's
Diane
passed
Wiest.
away. Diane Wiest is the mum.
Far out. Let's just find out his name before we go because we can't. There we go.
Edward Herman.
Edward Herman. That's it. Yeah.
He's great. But I think I was going to say it's important to note. Last week, I think it was last week, Chad and I talked about DC Cab, directed by Joel Schumacher.
Yep.
So that guy's on a fucking roll.
I would definitely love to do a whole episode on Joel Schumacher because I kind of
and the hardest working prostitutes in Hollywood that serviced him.
Flatliners, like, come on, we'll get. That'll be next week, won't it? I think that will be like 90. I think 2 weeks away.
Oh,
I think Flatliners.
I might have to give my sister a call about that because she used to watch Flatliners on repeat.
So did I.
I'm not sure who she had the hots for. She was watching that while I was, and Flash Gordon were her two go-to movies.
Okay, that's weird.
It's weird.
All right, how's that for a segue?
Caught me completely by surprise. I was not expecting that.
All right. Well, you know, it does suggest it's a rapid fire segment, but we'll just take our time.
Oh.
Yeah. Just recommend some movies in a speedish kind of way.
Yeah.
We'll just be quick about it. And then we'll wrap the show up.
Yeah.
Because you're sick of us, right?
Who wants to listen to us?
All right. So
no one.
We just spoke about The Lost Boys. I'm going to stay on the Corey Feldman track.
Okay.
And
you're going to talk about this one?
Yeah, 1991, Edge of Honor.
I thought you were going to wait and buy the VHS off eBay so we could talk about it on the Movie Land podcast.
I am not investing in anything of that nature. No, look, I had already selected it for this show, and I did put it off for a week, and I thought, no, fuck it. I'm going to talk about it because I really enjoyed this one. It's a movie that kind of evaded me for years. When I was, that age, whatever it was, 90s, when I was like in my pre-teen, early teen years, I had no comprehension of this movie, and I feel like I should have. It's Corey Feldman, Meredith Salinger, Don Swayze, the other Swayze.
She was in The Kiss that came out in 1988 as well.
Scott Reeves, Ken Jenkins, who you'll know if when you see his face. This movie I've described, or would describe as Stand By Me meets First Blood meets Toy Soldiers meets Southern Comfort.
I think at this time there would have been like Zero Boys. Nico Mastorakis did a version of it. There's Child's Play 3.
Kind of,
kind of this kind of film.
Yeah, absolutely. Where you put these teenagers into sort of, wilderness situations, up against bad guys.
Whitewater Summer.
Fucking oath.
What's that one with Daniel Stern?
The Bushwhacked.
Bushwhacked? And there's the Band of the Hand as well, which is another one. And Ticks.
Yeah.
But that's the horror version.
Bushwhacked was originally written as a spin-off from Home Alone, and he was a wet bandit. When you watch that movie, he's dressed as Marv, like he is the same character.
Yeah.
And they couldn't get the licensing, so they actually had to make it a standalone. But it was written as a spin-off. Makes so much more sense when you know that. But anyway, Edge of Honor takes place in the northern region of Washington State in the American West, on the Olympic Peninsula, which is right near Vancouver Island. So I'm sort of familiar with the terrain.
I'm willing to be proven wrong on this,
Yep.
but I think that's That's where Sleepy Hollow is set in Washington State. That's where when Ichabod Crane goes. But I think that's also where they go on that first episode of X-Files when they investigate the bugs.
So
upstate Washington.
I've been having this conversation with my son who's watching X-Files right now.
Right.
And most of X-Files was shot in Vancouver, but the episode, I think you're talking about Firefly with the like the cocoons up in the trees. And,
Yes.
So that's episode 2, I think, of season 1.
I think it's episode... In my head, it's the pilot.
Okay, well, maybe it is.
Because that's the one they go...
You could be right. But that was shot maybe 100 meters from my house.
Yeah, right.
So like that kind of has a special part. But I think isn't Sleepy Hollow Washington State? Oh, sorry, Washington's like capital.
No, because it's in the. He goes out to that. The town of Sleepy Hollow is in the middle of.
Because I thought
forest. It's in the middle of the woods and stuff. But when he travels back, he's been sent from New York.
I thought it was upstate New York where it all took place. I thought it was like up in like New Hampshire, even like. Anyway, it's a whole different conversation to be had.
Yeah. Or maybe it's just because the guy who wrote it's Irving Washington. That's where I got confused.
Well, it is where Twilight took place.
Yeah.
Let's say that. But anyway, this part of Washington State used to prosper on the logging industry. It's where it made all its money, and that industry got taken away. And the premise of this film has those out of work men are now smuggling in all kinds of things, contrabands and weapons and drugs and all that kind of stuff
From Canada
and elsewhere, like because they're in like a little sound. That's a little
so they got access to the sea.
Very much because that's where they ship all the logs out too, right?
Right.
So anyway, these
when they do the log rolling.
yeah, man. Do you know how many men get crushed falling between?
I
those
would
logs?
imagine. Yeah.
I used to see them in Vancouver all the time. The logs,
especially after that episode of Landman where he gets up on the truck and then the logs, and you're like, they do this on water all the time. How is this a?
Yeah, but they slip between and boom, splat. But these kids that are camping with their scout troop happen across a little cabin that's full of weapons, and they take like a container full of what are they? They're like rocket launchers. And suddenly the bad guys are after them. But you'd think in a movie like this, which has kids as lead characters, and this is why the VHS in Australia had that fat R rating on the cover.
Yeah.
Because these bad guys don't just chase the kids; they go into the scout camp and kill them all. And it's just these 4 or 5 that are in the woods that escape, and then they get chased for the rest of the movie. But the fact that these bad guys just completely massacre an entire scout group.
I will say I did have this I was watching a tape of it on eBay for years. That's why I thought I had it.
Yeah.
But instead it was at the point where I just wound down my collecting and I was like, I'm just going to download this. I'll get off cinema again. I don't need to own the tape. I just want to watch it.
It's a wonderful movie.
Yeah.
I really had a ball watching it. It's not a perfect movie. It has the reek of a made-for-television film, which it may have been. I don't know, but it's too edgy. Yeah, it has a stank about it.
Stinks of television.
Yeah, back in those days, But no,
it has those bits where that fade to black and then fade back out, and you're like, that's for a commercial break.
That's right. I know what they're doing. But look, watching it for the first time as a full-grown ass adult, I loved it, and I wish I'd seen it back then.
Cool.
So that was the longest actual recommendation I think I've ever done for particularly a rapid fire section.
Yeah. I watched a bunch of movies this week, which I'm shocked that I found the time considering how many movies we actually went to see this week. But I checked out The Gorge.
Yes, you've been telling me about this one.
The new Scott Derrickson film, the guy who did Black Phone and Exorcism of Emily Rose. Starring Miles Teller and Anya Taylor-Joy and Sigourney Weaver. It was great. I thoroughly enjoyed every second of it. And it led me, because there's been another couple of these kind of, I don't know what you'd call them, post-apocalyptic. Because it's kind of like, this is not a post-apocalyptic film, but it's set in an area that... it's set in the middle of they take these two people. There's a Russian side and an American side over this gorge, and something's in the gorge that they're protecting the world from escape. Their job is to stop whatever's in there from escaping. And so but whatever escapes could destroy the world, but the world is normal everywhere else.
Yes.
But because I enjoyed this so much, I watched Elevation.
Yeah, right.
The Anthony Mackie, Maddie Hassan, and Marina Baccarin movie that I think is an Amazon Prime one. I'm not 100% sure about that. That was directed by George Noffey, who did The Banker and Birth of the Dragon and The Adjustment Bureau and stuff like that. Not as good. Like, a nice idea, but the characters aren't anywhere near as... Like, the main strength of The Gorge, funnily enough, is just how much you enjoy watching Miles Teller and Anya Taylor-Joy interact.
Yeah.
That's the joy of that film. All the action and stuff takes a backseat to just... These people are just fucking cool. And they make fun of their other movies. Like, at one point, she plays the drums, and another point, he's doing... I can't remember what he does, but it's from a Anya Taylor-Joy movie.
Okay.
And, like, they kind of... There's a lot of kind of, like, little in-jokes that they put in there. Elevation, not so great. Like, Elevation is like a... I can't remember the name of the film. I did talk about it on the show with Stanley Tucci and the girl who was Sabrina, the teenage witch on the... I can't remember what her name is either. And she's in the Swimming with Sharks TV series. Anyway, where they like bats, they dig into the earth, they let through this creature that every time you make a noise it kills you, kind of thing.
Bats is another movie, by the way.
Bats is another one.
You're not on the same train.
Yeah.
Your train of thought.
And Elevation is another one of those. Like, they go below a certain elevation and these creatures attack and they will not go above.
Yeah.
And it sets it up for a sequel. I will say that, a very clear sequel.
It's a bit like Below. Is that the one? The David Toohey film?
It's similar.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know what? I almost watched The Gorge on your recommendation, like, to me personally, and I got distracted by a new one that dropped on Amazon Prime called G20.
I also watched that.
Okay, I did not like that one at all.
I
like the premise. It's another White House down, Olympus
totally,
Has Fallen type of movie. Viola Davis kicking ass as the president with a terrorist organization led by Anthony Starr.
So it's The Boys. The superhero from The Boys is the bad guy.
Anthony Anderson is the husband.
Will Trent from Will Trent is her security guard. She's got this, like, it is, yeah.
Like, it's just poorly made. The effects are terrible. Like when they... Anyway,
they get lost in a house that's about the size of this house.
Yeah, but when they arrive, like the tacky, like, almost blue screen effects of everything. Yeah. And like they get in there and you see out the windows to this view, but it's clearly just like a matted backdrop type of thing. Yeah. It's like just...
And, all credit to Viola Davis. Great actress.
I like her.
Tries her hardest, but Bruce Willis, she is not. And it's just... gets a bit silly.
Very.
But the other one I watched, which I also hadn't seen, which I'd never seen before.
Yep.
I still haven't got as long as your reviews, and I've talked about 4 films. I watched Waxwork for the first time.
Oh, the Anthony Hickox film.
Yeah, which I had never seen.
I've been wanting to go back to that for the longest time because I've got a really shitty version. Like, I think it's a Magna Pacific DVD, and I want to watch it in like high def.
Yeah.
Just haven't bought the Blu-ray or...
I should have brought it around.
I would love to borrow it because I'm keen to do a double feature with the second one as well.
Because it comes with the second one in the Viavision Blu-ray pack.
Or whatever.
And Zach Galligan does repeats.
If you look behind Ben, those 2 posters are both Anthony Hickox, the guy that directed this movie. So clearly I've got a vested interest in it.
But it is the thing that's most bizarre. Like, the setup of the movie is great. The horror elements are great. David Warner as the sculptor or whatever he is, puppet master. Yeah. He's great. John Rhys Davies, as one of the creations, is great. But the cast, it's Michelle Johnson, Zach Galligan from Gremlins, Deborah Foreman from Valley Girl, Eric Brown from Private Lessons. But for some reason that begs belief, he's made them all assholes.
Yeah.
Every single one of the kids, like... I mean, and they really try hard to make Zach Galligan sympathetic, but like because he's friends with his but he's such a rich turd. He's got like his mother. He He's best friends with his butler. He smokes cigarettes and gives him coffee because his mother won't let him have. But his mother disapproves of him associating with the staff.
Yeah.
And, stuff like that. But when he's interacting with his friends, he's such a prick.
Do you think this is because Anthony Hickox is an English director and maybe it's his perception of America? Like, I'm doing my first American movie, I'm going to make them assholes because that's kind of what Americans are?
Yeah.
It's
so weird. Michelle Johnson is a horrible person. Even Deborah Foreman and she's the nicest one of the lot. But definitely worth checking out if you've never seen it before like I have, or if you need to revisit it because you haven't seen it since 1987.
We almost had Anthony Hickox on the show before he passed away. I just missed that opportunity. I really wanted to talk to him about Jill Rips, which is an underrated movie he did with Dolph Lundgren.
Dolph Lundgren? Yeah. That's his Jack the Ripper movie, right? Yeah.
Jill the Ripper.
Jill the Ripper, sorry. It's the Queen. The serial killer, Jill the Ripper is the Queen.
Awesome. End of the show. Thanks, everybody, for hanging around, getting this far into it. I should see if I can pull up the analytics and see where they drop off.
Yeah.
Terrific TV Tuesday. That's where they call it.
That's where it goes off. We're not here for TV.
So don't forget, goodmoviemonday.com. Like, share, subscribe, comment to our social media, all that kind of stuff. We do appreciate it. Like I said,
Sponsor
next
us.
week,
Sponsor us.
if all goes to plan, we'll have Kriv Stenders on the show. That'll be fantastic. And yes, please, Kirks, we plead with you.
Oh, Kirks.
Kirks, we plead with you. Do you know what? I sent the video of our conversation to Kirk, so let's see if they respond. See you later, everyone.
Bye.